football, the top of this draft, Charles. Your squad that you cover, the New York Giants, there for the New York Daily News, is fourth, and it seems like the intrigue of this draft is who's going to trade where. Will Washington take Tua? Will they trade out of it? Is it all smoke? Is Detroit going to stay there? Would they pick Tua if he's on the board? And what did the New York Giants do? Would they trade back or take Isaiah Simmons or Mekhi Becton? What is your sense for how the top of the draft plays out after hanging out maybe a little late at times in Indianapolis?
Yeah, I think we all have Burrow 1 to Cincinnati, Chase Young 2 to Washington. Like I think we can say at this point the draft kind of starts with the third pick at the Lions, and you know unfortunately for the Giants, the Lions are in a spot where they're third, the Giants are fourth, so they're one pick ahead of the Giants, and they can at least there's what common logic says is you already have your franchise quarterback in place on a 4-12 roster, trade back, and the common sense logic kind of applies or aligns with what the Lions are thinking of doing. I mean, there was a ton of buzz last week about the number 3 pick being for sale, and it just makes a lot of sense when you look at the draft order. From picks 5 through 7, you have the Dolphins, Chargers, and Panthers, all who could be in the market for a franchise quarterback. So Detroit's in a really nice spot where they can trade down from 3, pick up some picks, and still stay in like the top 7 and get a premium player. So if they can do that, that's really good start, or I guess not even start to the off season because it's the end of April. It's like a good finish to the off season for them. And the Jets, the other New York team here, they have provided a blueprint for kind of getting that deal done because a couple years ago the Jets were at 6. They traded up to the Colts for 3, where they used for Sam Darnold, and they traded 2 second-round picks to get to the third or pick. So there's already a bit of a framework there for the Lions to make a deal with.
Charles, here's what I've been trying to decide about the Detroit Lions. Could they be somewhat of a sleeping giant, a team that had its quarterback get hurt and then has a really high draft pick, some free agent money to spend, they could add some more players? Or is the fact that they're coached by Matt Patricia just too much to get over? Because I could talk myself into it and then right back out of it as soon as you say Matt Patricia.
Yeah, I mean, it's been ugly with the Patricia era. And it's funny. I still not get over Bob Quinn saying that 9-7 isn't good enough when they got rid of Jim Caldwell, and I think they have 9 wins total since he left. So, obviously, it was tough for them last year with Stafford going down. I mean, he was playing probably the best football of his career before he got hurt. But Matt Patricia, he was hired really to be a defensive guy, like to fix the defense, and even with Stafford being hurt, that doesn't excuse like most of the defensive performance that we saw last year where, I remember on Thanksgiving, they made Trubisky look pretty good, and we were all like, Trubisky, like he's out here lighting up an NFL defense. So that's where the Lions are right now. So, that draft will help. Getting Stafford back and hopefully he can be healthy will help, but it's hard to feel confident with Patricia as things stand right now.
Now, the team that you covered, the Giants, they are, I think, in everybody's mind, a bottom feeder in the NFC, that they could have another season next year where they win 4 or 5 games and you have to go and cover them. So have fun with that. But, I'm really conflicted on Daniel Jones because last year around draft time, I watched some Daniel Jones with Sage Rosenfels, who, used to be a Giants backup and does the show with me here. And he said there was a few things that he really liked about him. And he thought the Duke team wasn't very good, and he kind of made up for some of that. And then last year when they played the Vikings, there were 3 or 4 flashes of, ooh, Daniel Jones just made a great throw. And then 3 or 4 times where he went, oh, okay, definitely still a rookie out here playing. Whether he works out will probably determine where that team goes next year and beyond. So what was your sense from being around him and that team this year about how they feel about Daniel Jones as a franchise quarterback?
I mean, the Giants players that you talk to, and I honestly believe this is more than just player speak. Like, they do seem to be kind of all in on this guy. And I don't know if that's skewed from, the past few years playing for Eli, because I do think that he was a good deal better than Eli last season. But I'll give Daniel Jones this. Like, he was more functional than I thought he would be in the NFL. I didn't really think that he honestly had much like to be a competent starting quarterback. I thought he was kind of a backup, but I think he proved at least that he should be starting. I think the next question is how high does that ceiling go?
Mhm.
I personally think he can like max out as like a Jimmy Garoppolo type guy, where if things go right, then you can have a pretty good team, but it takes a lot of help to get him there. And the Giants are picking fourth overall for a reason, so they're not quite there yet. But they just have so long to go on both sides of the ball. But don't feed into the Joe Judge stuff when he says he can't name a starting quarterback. Whatever, Daniel Jones is going to be a starting quarterback. They used a sixth pick on him last year for a reason. He's by far the best quarterback left on the roster. So yeah, he's going to be starting. The players like him. We'll see if the new coaching staff takes a liking to him when they start working on April or whatever. But he's better than I thought he would be.
Talking with Charles McDonald, he is the senior NFL writer for the New York Daily News and wrote a really great piece in the New York Daily News about what you took away from the NFL Scouting Combine. That's sort of what it's called, what we learned from the NFL Scouting Combine. You tweeted it out at 4Verts if people want to check it out. Now, I want to talk to you about the strengths of this draft and what you took away from it, because Sage Rosenfels and I were just talking about if you were the Vikings and you could pick anybody in this entire draft that wasn't a quarterback, obviously you'd take Burrow first, but who would you take if it was anybody? And I keep looking at these tackles, Charles, and thinking,
oh, so good.
Can I have one? Like it might not matter. Just one of these people is fine. What Tristan Wirfs did, I think he's going to play tackle, looks like, with his freak athleticism. But also the guy who's getting left sort of untalked about is Andrew Thomas for how good he was on tape, but he gets sort of overlooked because of the freakish other guys who ran super fast and everything at the combine. But I think this is a great year to need a tackle.
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, especially if this is like a very pressing, immediate need for you. I mean, you got four options right there staring you in the face in the first round with Tristan Wirfs, who you just spoke about. I mean, absolutely killed the combine. And for me, I got to the draft game late, so I started watching guys a couple weeks before the combine, and I was so plugged out of draft talk that I had no idea that people were projecting him to be a guard. Because when I watched him, I remember I sent the tape to my friend Justice. We go way back and we kind of nerd out about offensive line and defensive line stuff. And we were like, oh, this guy's like a mix of Tyron Smith and Trent Williams. So when I found out people thinking he was a guard, I was like, nah, dude, this guy's gonna blow up the combine. He's like got freakish tackle athleticism. Like you can see it when he's on the backside of outside runs. Like he's blocking linebackers down the field like 2 or 3 gaps over. Like the dude's just an alien. So you got him up there. Jedrick Wills from Alabama, Andrew Thomas, like you mentioned, Mekhi Becton, who I don't know what that was at the combine, but someone still needs to explain to me how he ran a 5'1" at 364 pounds. I mean, the dude is just solid. And what's cool about this class is there are a lot of young players at the top. Like Tristan Wirfs just turned 21. I think Becton's still 20. Wills he's 21 too. So not only are you getting these guys who are young and have high floors, they also have the ceiling to get a lot better too. Which is, I mean, if you need a tackle, like I think if I'm the Giants and let's say you want to trade down from 4, the Lions take a player at 3, like you can trade down, get a few picks, and still get an offensive tackle, and like you're really starting to accelerate that rebuild on offense.
What do you make of how the offensive lines, I guess, stack up these days? Because this is an interesting offensive line draft with the tackles to turn the tides maybe a little bit. It feels like in years past there has been one guy who might be a good tackle at the top, or you get one freak like Quentin Nelson, who is a guard that gets taken way high. But I felt like for years we've been talking about, there's 18 defensive ends who could go in the first round and one offensive lineman. And then it's sort of been reflective in how the game has been played. And I feel like guys who get rid of the ball quicker or are athletic quarterbacks have had maybe somewhat of an advantage because of this. I don't know if one draft can entirely change that because defensive ends are still freaks, but this is unusual to me, Charles.
Yeah, it's a weird draft because I've been running through these defensive end guys because one fun thing about I remember I was like I'm just going to cover the Jets and Giants needs for the draft, and I realized okay, that's like every position. So
Yeah.
I've been kind of
we're in a similar spot there, by the way.
Yeah,
with the Vikings.
it's a little bit worse over here, uh, but I don't really like this defensive end class. Like from what I've seen so far, no one really gets me going outside of Chase Young, who obviously is going to be like a top two pick. So once you get past Chase Young, you have I'm about to butcher his name, Kaylavon Chasen from
Yep.
LSU, and he's a guy that's like the traits are impressive, even though he didn't work out, but you still see when he gets matched up against like heavier offensive tackles, like, oh, okay, this dude is still very much 20 years old and he still got some growing to do. So, it's exciting to think about what he could be, but right now, not too pumped about like a day one impact. AJ Penza from Iowa, I didn't get it with him, and he ended up testing like a defensive tackle. I mean, the first round options past Chase Young are not too inspiring this year, which is definitely a big change from the past few drafts.
Let me clarify. With the Vikings, I don't know who they're going to cut. So we have to kind of cover all of it. They're much better shape than the Jets and the Giants roster wise.
Yeah.
Vikings fans who are feeling down about that should read your work and see all the things that they need. What do you think of the other quarterbacks? I wrote a little bit about it at our website, scorenorth.com today, just about the intrigue of the other quarterbacks that are not named Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa, which, of course, in New York, your teams think that they're okay at quarterback. But we're looking at it here as if we don't really know if Kirk Cousins is going to sign a long-term contract extension. But they're probably not going to take a Jordan Love if he got to 25 or something like that, or a Jacob Eason. The quarterbacks who are in the middle, the Jalen Hurts, I feel like there's quite a few guys who you could make a case to be really interested in.
Yeah, Jordan Love is really interesting to me. I mean, the talk of him going like top 6, top 10 is utterly baffling to me.
Yeah,
but
same.
Like, if you can get him like day 2 somewhere and just kind of sit him and stash him, and if it works out, great. Like we got a guy. If it doesn't work out, whatever. We can kind of move on pretty easily. I think that's like kind of the sweet spot for a team to get him. But like someone's going to get pushed up, and I guess it's him this year. But he's got like it's like if you I saw someone comparing to Patrick Mahomes, I think on TV, which is a little bit crazy because even Mahomes in college, like he threw his last year, he threw 41 touchdowns and 10 picks. That's not Jordan Love, even if he's not playing in like Cliff Kingsbury's offense. There's a lot of bad interceptions on there, and some interceptions are his fault, but like the physical talent is undeniable. So I can definitely see a team like falling in love and take him in the first round, like late first round. Maybe you trade back up for him, but I can't get with the whole top 10 talk with Love, but he's definitely intriguing.
The Patrick Mahomes comparisons to anyone took me back to my childhood when the next Michael Jordan was always coming. This guy, he's going to be the next Jordan because he shoots a lot of mid-range shots and takes people one-on-one. And, it's weird. It never happened, which probably won't with Patrick Mahomes either. Charles, always awesome stuff. Before I let you go, I need your hottest quarterback landing spot take. I know you wrote about Jameis Winston and his unsure future, which, when you throw 30 picks, people are going to be a little hesitant on you, I think. But do you have this guy's going there, and here's why it would be awesome, blazing hot take with quarterback uncertainty this offseason?
Oh, man. Put me on the spot. Okay, is it a hot take at this point to say Tom Brady just goes back to the Patriots?
It might be because everybody's pushing so hard for him to go somewhere else because we want madness.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Brady is I am honestly baffled by the amount, like by the coverage of Brady. And obviously, this is the first time, first time he's hitting free agency, future first time Hall of Famer, whatever, first ballot. I mean, but the dude did not play all that well last season. So it's weird to me that, we're on a 2-year decline where he's gotten worse and worse, or really even a 3-year decline if you want to include like 2017 regular season where he was like slightly down from his normal standards, even though he won MVP. Like 2017, 2018, 2019. 2019 was really bad, not just for his standards, but just generally a below average quarterback play. And I don't know, it's just weird that we're hyping this 43-year-old quarterback up who played like, 20th best quarterback in the league last year as this guy that's going to come in and save your franchise. I think just go back to New England for one more year, see what Belichick can assemble around you, and then just go out in New England. Like, don't end this pooping the bed with another team. Like, no one wants to see that.
That's right. We thank Dan Marino for not coming to Minnesota as he had a chance to do late in his career, because it probably would have gone really awful. And that is the fear. Now, I thought earlier, I started the show by saying that Tom Brady to San Francisco is we've jumped the shark on Tom Brady to places. But then Sage Rosenfels early on the show disagreed with me. I think once we're putting him on teams that went to the Super Bowl and we're leading in the fourth quarter, that we've gone a little too far.
Yeah, I'm not buying the 49ers thing at all. I have a conspiracy theory that his market is not not what he thought it was going to be, or not what his agent thought it was going to be. And now they're just floating stuff out to see what sticks. But I just can't imagine that the 49ers, who have been, one thing that you can really give John Lynch credit for is they've been so meticulous with their contract structures. I mean, like, the only reason why the 49ers can get brought up is because they could feasibly get out of Jimmy Garoppolo's contract this year if they wanted to. But I don't see why you would do that and then replace him with Brady, who's going to have a pretty big cap hit year one, since he's not going to be playing much longer. That one just makes absolutely no sense to me.
Charles, the reason you fit so well on this show as a guest is that you watch offensive line and defensive line tape and send it to your friends, and you recklessly speculate and have conspiracy theories. It's just a perfect fit. So So I always appreciate you coming on. Make sure you follow him at 4Verts, one of the best football follows. He's the senior NFL writer for New York Daily News, which, Charles, still kind of blows my mind, man. Like, you were doing freelance stuff for Football Outsiders when we first started doing this.
Yeah, no, and then last week I was getting hammered with coaches, so it's been quite the ride.
Good for you, man. All right, well, follow him on Twitter. 4Verts always does great work. We'll talk again soon, Charles.
All right, for sure. Thanks for having me.
Yep, for sure.